Green Bay's had two quarterbacks in the last 30 years. Jordan Love, all the pressures, all the eyes are on him in a winnable division with Detroit and Minnesota as the favorites. Jordan Love came out there, put up 3 touchdowns, gave a little hope going forward this season for the Packers.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast, available on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, man, it is a special cavalcade of stars. We have our favorite political consultant, Merv Jones, with us. Merv, how are you doing this taping day, sir?
I'm doing great. Just watching some football. I feel like it's actually fall now instead of having to deal with, 90-degree days and 80-degree nights.
All right. Pumpkin at Duncan. All right. We have Captain for Life, Will Cotton. Will, thank you for squeezing us in your busy time this Sunday.
Of course. It's my favorite part of Sundays.
Okay. And got some special cats on today, making his return from preview editions. The greatest winner in the history of Coach Adams basketball, Sean Sears. Sean, welcome back. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
And on his maiden voyage, one of my favorite players, who has given so much for the cause, state champion himself, G. Sumner. G, love your background. How you doing? And welcome, sir.
We're in the building. It's a beautiful day. Football's back. There's a celebration going on behind me. We're ready to roll. Happy to be here.
Somewhere, Son of Festus is smiling. Okay. So in segment 1, we're going to talk about the best and worst of week 1. Segment 2, we're going to talk about some issues going on. And in segment 3, we'll talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. I'm off to a great start. But first, Merv, what was the best thing you saw today, my friend?
The Saints pulling out a W, just starting off right. Everything started to click there. They showed that they were able to win a tight game. But outside of that, I had to go with my Browns. So,
okay. All right. Sean, what was the best thing you saw today?
The nation, baby. The nation. What you think? What you talking about? We got that 1-point W. We got that W against them Sean Payton trash talking Broncos. That's what the best thing I saw.
All right. Cotton Man, what's the best thing you saw today?
I'm going to go away from team. I'm going to go individually. Calvin Ridley, welcome back. Balled out, 8 catches, 101 and a touchdown. Welcome back, young man.
All right. And G, what was the best thing you saw today?
Well, it would be easy for me to say these 49ers, given how great they looked. But I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going Jordan Love. Green Bay's had 2 quarterbacks in the last 30 years. Jordan Love, all the pressures, all the eyes are on him in a winnable division with Detroit and Minnesota as the favorites. Jordan Love came out there, put up 3 touchdowns, gave a little hope going forward this season for the Packers.
All right, and we'll be talking about Jordan Love in segment 3, strictly for entertainment purposes only. Best thing I saw today, fellas, was the Washington Commanders having a home sellout. Our correspondent, Brian Bobian, was sending me pictures of all the celebrities there. KD was there. Joel Embiid was there. Lindsey Vonn, Magic Johnson. I mean, I'm like, were you watching the game? Or you? Is this Hollywood? So, all right. So the worst thing, okay, Will, I'm going to start with you. What was the worst thing you saw today?
I think everybody beat up the whole KC thing on Thursday, so I'm going to jump on the Vikings, who were supposed to be the best team in the North, and you laid an egg against the worst team, possibly maybe the Arizona and Tampa Bay, 2 worst teams in the NFC, and Minnesota lost. That's terrible.
All right. Sean, what was the worst thing you saw today?
I went to the Ravens game today. Lamar Jackson looked rusty and terrible. Fumbles, drop balls from the center, terrible throws. I mean, Lamar looked bad, and he got paid. He
checks clear, though. Checks are clear.
His money was weighing him down. It must have been his wallet.
He looked bad. And I was one of the people who was fighting for him to get his money, but he looked bad today.
All right. Merv, what about you? What was the worst thing you saw today?
The worst thing that I saw today was the Steelers getting beat up on like they did. I was not expecting that. They were able to shut down George Pickens, and they got Pickett running around hide scared. It was just a clash of the defenses, and only one offense stood up.
All right. G, what was the worst thing you saw today?
Let's keep the theme going with the AFC North and also piggyback on Sean's theme of quarterbacks that just got paid and players that didn't play in the preseason. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Offense was stagnant, punt after punt, couldn't get anything going. And Cleveland wasn't exactly lighting it up. It's just, somebody had to score. Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Same thing happened last year. They lost to the Steelers in the first year, and the same team was not a good team, and they ended up in the AFC Championship. Let's keep going.
Yeah, they did start off slow last year.
I'm not saying it's over for them. It's the worst thing I saw today.
It's the worst thing you saw today.
Sure.
All right, fellas, worst thing I saw today was J.K. Dobbins tearing his Achilles, and, he was healthy. He was healthy for the first time in 3 years. He didn't get his extension. And in March of 2024, he's going to become an unrestricted free agent, having missed 64% of his career games. So that was the worst thing I saw.
Is that
today.
accurate?
It's Coach Adams, man. I got my data. You know that. All right, Sean, what was the most surprising thing you saw today? What surprised you?
Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers.
Rent don't own still, Todd. Rent don't own. All right, Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. Okay. Gee, we can get you in now. What's the most surprising thing you saw today?
Honestly, I'd have to say the Seattle Seahawks laying a complete egg.
Yes.
The Rams were supposed to be that Tampa Bay, Arizona bad type of team this year, and they came in and lit Seattle up at home on a team that's supposed to challenge the Niners for the division this year.
Yes. We'll talk about that in segment 3, unfortunately, too. Will, what's the most surprising thing you saw today?
Green Bay almost putting up 40. Woo, boy. That to me, that was surprising to me. I thought the Bears were gonna run over them, and they got the doors blown off. So congratulations to Green Bay fans.
And Merv, what was the most surprising thing for you, sir?
I was stuck between two. The way that Anthony Richardson played, and then also Atlanta balling out like they did with a rookie running back and a rookie or a first-time starter quarterback. Those are my two. I can't split hairs on those two.
All right. And mine was the Browns. So I wanted to go with the Browns for my season-long pick. The Deshaun Watson thing we've talked about throughout the time. We even have a couple of lost episodes about Deshaun Watson. But the fact that they came out and like they actually dominated them, they beat them, I was quite surprised by that. So, hey, that's the weekly roundup of NFL Sunday. For those of you who are new to our show, we tape prior to the 8 o'clock game and the Monday night game. So, no, we're not going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the Giants and that dude on the Jets. But, hey, we'll catch you on the back end with that. So when we get back, there's some stories out there that I want to get the panelists' thoughts on. We'll be right back on the Eye Coaches Podcast.
Why should student athletes use the CKA SAVE Project academic and athletic consulting services? Over the past 15 to 20 years, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, business organizations, and others have increased their use of consulting services to improve their decision-making processes and results. Over the same time, the athletic and academic landscape has changed for high school and college student athletes as the NCAA has raised initial academic eligibility requirements for student athletes while decreasing the number of transfer restrictions. Former college student athletes have noted that they were academic and athletically unprepared for the rigors of college. Let the CKA SAVE Project's close to 30 years of academic and athletic experience help guide student athletes to increase success as we work to help student athletes achieve the goal of obtaining a college degree. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
1 Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. We're going to talk about some issues, some different stories. We're going to go to our Ohio guy, Murray. Joe Burrow got his money. Okay, he signed a 5-year contract extension worth up to $275 million with $219 million guaranteed. He got his check. And they laid a big egg, but that's what the market's paying. Any thoughts about Joe Burrow? And now he's locked into Cincinnati moving forward.
They still never fixed their major problem, even when they made it to the Super Bowl. That offensive line is still atrocious. I don't know if it's because it's too many new parts and where they haven't gelled yet, but by now they should have done something. So either it's them or it's the offensive line scheme. Maybe they need to move the zone blocking. Who knows? But it's just not working.
Do you think they're going to pay those wideouts? Because you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Burrow's top 2 targets. They're also in contention for that next lucrative deal. Jamar Chase indicated earlier that he wants to be paid top dollar. And Higgins also wants a long-term deal. So, Sean, are you paying those guys?
Yeah, I'm paying them.
But you
got
can't pay everybody, as you see across the league.
You can't pay everybody across the league. You can't, but you got to pay his weapons. I mean, the reason why you gave him all that money is because he's been throwing to them weapons.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move on to Laramie Tunsil. And Will, I want you to talk about this because you're a businessman. Houston Texans left tackle Laramie Tunsil signed a 3-year, $75 million extension. He is now the highest paid offensive lineman for the second time in his career, and he has done so without an agent. In 2019, he created his own company, and he says it's more than football. Football has given me opportunities to do all types of things. Talk to me, Will, about your thoughts about players not having agents and doing it for themselves.
They're not the standard. I think more guys, if you actually look at the NFL, more guys actually have an agent and get their contracts and move forward kind of quickly. It's just an advocate. You speak the you speak the language, you speak contractually, a GM to an agent. That's a buffer that you need. I think he's going to start worrying about his money because if he's the direct line for that, he's going to be able to have to advocate for himself. It's much easier when you can let somebody else advocate for you, especially when he's an established kind of player. Now, he's pretty big now, so if he can make his own contracts, great. Lamar did the same thing. Richard Sherman did the same thing. They were all pro going into that. Now, as he gets older, he's going to have somebody to advocate for him and negotiate for him. But, hey, man, good for you if you can do it without an agent. But that's not the standard. So, hey, at the end of the day, Coach, GTB, get the bag. So,
Get the bag.
I think in the future he should look into getting an agent.
Okay, Merv, I'm hiring you as Chase Young's consultant. Chase Young is playing this 5th year, no contract. It ends. He's got a stinger. I think he might be healthy enough to play, but what do you do if you're Chase Young knowing that there's no money at the end of the rainbow, possibly, and get into a J.K. Dobbins situation where you're injured? What do you think, sir?
I believe that he's represented well by Clutch Sports. So let me say that Kelton Crenshaw and those guys back home in Cleveland, they're doing amazing for him. But I feel like what he's doing, he was hoping that they get blown out. So they say, hey, we really need him. Let's give him the money that he needs. That's the smart play because no NFL or there's very few NFL
like Chandler Jones. Yep, Chandler Jones.
NFL contracts that are fully guaranteed. That's what the ultimate fight is for these guys. So if he wants to, if he hits the open market, there's going to be 31 other teams saying, hey, what do you want to do? You want to play outside linebacker? You want to play defensive end? You want to play Mike? Whatever. So I feel like he's playing the long game.
I don't know, Merv. I don't know.
Go ahead,
I mean,
Will.
if you beat the Arizona Cardinals, and you really barely beat them. I mean, if the wind blew the wrong way, Washington's losing.
They were almost my worst of the week.
I think he still has a good point that they need him. They couldn't get no pressure. They couldn't do nothing. This guy, I don't even know his name. Dobbs. Yeah, he was out here just chilling. I mean, they need, and he was another piece. They need him. Don't believe it. Go ahead.
Sorry. Do they need him? Absolutely. Yeah. But I think we're watching a similar story play out with the Bengals and T. Higgins. Can't pay everybody, and I foresee both of those guys on different teams next year.
Word, but that allocates money for more people to bring in. So you either give him the money or let him go and then use the money to actually supplement where you need help at, like DB or LB or RB or
RB already. Huh?
I mean, dude, you're watching
it RB already.
The money will go somewhere good. Trust me.
All right. So, G, I want you to close us out. Matt Corral got cut again, and he got cut in part because he didn't report to the Patriots. The Athletic reported that Corral hadn't been to Gillette Stadium for practice, walkthrough, or meetings. Corral has had an admitted history of depression, and athletic identity is a big thing. Any thoughts you have? One, did you know about the story? And two, what are your thoughts in terms of being a former player about these types of opportunities when it doesn't work the way you wanted it to work? What do you think about that? I wanted to get your thoughts on that as we close the segment.
So I wasn't even familiar with Matt Corral until about a couple of days ago. I'm not gonna lie. And it's one of those things that it's a new issue in sports and in life in general, you know, when you're dealing with mental health and things of that nature. And so it's a sensitive subject. I don't think we have the answers or anyone has the answers yet on exactly how to deal with that best. They're treating it really sensitively right now. Just, you know, keep them out of the building. But it's something that organizations are going to have to learn how to treat like an injury.
Yes.
In terms of, you know, you got to exercise patience with these folks. I know my thought is we haven't heard about a lot of mental health issues in the past that people have had just because that's not part of football. Football is a tough thing, but it's a different world now. So you just got to find different ways to attack it, approach it, support the person, and try to get them healthy if they're able to get back to a place to play and treat it like an injury.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that piece because part of the work CKA Safe Project tries to do is be a consultant in terms of, hey, are you okay? All of this is hard. All of this is competition. Everybody is trying to do something that's very hard to do. So we try to be mindful of that. And I thought you addressed that as well as could be. So when we get back, fans, we will do our final segment on things strictly for entertainment purposes only. Had a great first week, so I'm really excited to get to segment 3. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasafeproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. Hey, we are here. Top 5. My top 5 is crap. It's awful. Please rip me up and change it. So number 1, we're gonna go with San Francisco because why not? Why not? They won. We didn't think they were going to win like that. So let's go with them. For number 2, Merv, you are convincing me to just keep an eye on them. So why not keep an eye on them and put them on the radar? Let's go with the Saints as 2. Okay. The reason why? Because it's early in the season and we're missing 3 games. I'm going to go Packers at 3. Why? Because it's early. I'm going to go Eagles at 4 because I'm mad at them because they almost messed up my parlay. And shockingly, I'm going to go with the Dolphins at 5 because I didn't think they were going to win. So again, this top 5 is a week 1 top 5, so I don't particularly care. Will, who's your top 5? Tell me who's the best teams right now off of a week 1 where we're still shocked that Tampa Bay won.
I gotta give my man G Love. San Fran is number 1. I'm gonna have to say I still think Philly, man. They won the game. They had a great defense. The defense did what they're supposed to do, and they picked up the offense. No reason for me to say they shouldn't. And they're not going to be held down. And they had a weird fumble that Hurts had that I don't think should happen again. They'll tighten it up. So I still think they're number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna pull it, even though they haven't played right now, and I think they're gonna win, even though they haven't started. I'm gonna say Dallas is still gonna be number 3 at the end of the night. Number 4, I'm gonna have to go with. I'm still gonna say KC, man. Like even though they lost and they 0-1, they still the best. They're still one of the best teams, and Kelsey's gonna play. I'm sure if it was a playoff game or even a close game that he had to end of the season, he would have played last night. But he was running around, jumping, high five. That man, all right, he all right, good. They tried to disrespect him. And I guess 5th, just to kind of jump on the bandwagon, coach, I'm gonna jump on the Saints, man, because I don't know the last time we're gonna say they're gonna be in the top 5. Yeah. So it's good to say. So it's good that they could be in this. So that's my top 5 for week 1.
All right, we're gonna go with Will's top 5, not mine. So let me talk about my season-long bets. I've got the Steelers at 8.5, over 8.5. I got the Jags winning 10. Jets over 9.5. Chargers over 9.5. The Packers at 7.5, over 7.5. I think I'm going to get that one first. Carolina over 7.5. They didn't play too bad. Okay. Washington over 6.5. I think that's going to be my sneaky pick. And Seattle over 8.5. So let's get to the actual betting. You could follow my picks on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Odd Coaches, at CK Save Project. I do 5 games a week. This week I was 3-2, and I'm plus $18.99. All bets $10. So hey, wifey's happy. So my spread game of the week was Seattle minus 4.5. Took a L on that. My over under was San Francisco under 41.5. That paid off. My 2 play was Tennessee under 41 and Washington minus 7. Tennessee took care of business where Washington didn't. My 3 play money line, straight winners, Jacksonville, Washington, and Philadelphia. And I was like hanging. I thought that pass was actually complete at the end of the game. Glad that the referees kicked rocks. And my upset of the week was Green Bay over Chicago. So that was me. For strictly for entertainment purposes only. Will, anything that you did, good, bad, or indifferent?
I was disappointed in Justin Herbert. Every year they hype this guy up. Every year they say he's the next guy. Every time they say he's the guy, the next one that we should working up, this guy stinks it up. The guy had 23 for 33, 228, 1 touchdown, got outplayed by Tua at home. and
They
he just
still
got a
think
bag.
about that playoff loss. What I tell you, Coach Adams?
He
That
been thinking about it
hangover.
for 2 years now because he just not it. Like they want to
Uh,
make him
the-
fetch.
I-
Hey, like Mean Girls, they want to make fetch so bad. Fetch is not gonna happen.
Man, that's we're being rough on him, aren't we? I mean,
Why not? Why not?
he
If he
wasn't
was
Joe
black,
Burrow
hey,
out there.
no, hey, no, if he was black, we'd be like, oh, I don't know if he got
No,
it.
he wasn't Joe Burrow out there today. He had 34 points on the board. He had a running back who went over 100, another running back at 90. They were running the ball effectively.
So running
There's
back,
no need for him to put up 400 yards.
the running back had 117 out of 16 carries.
What'd you say? 23 or 33? That's over. I mean,
and one
not lighting
touchdown.
it up, but that's not stinking it up.
You have 33 attempts. 33 attempts. You end up with 34 points, and you had one touchdown.
That's because they had 200 yards on the ground.
I mean, he didn't get the win.
I mean, they lost the game on the last possession.
He got outplayed by the other quarterback.
And if his defense makes half a stop, they win the game. But same old Chargers. Can't stop anyone in the last 4 minutes.
And that's what Sean said.
But that's what G says. Quarterbacks, if they're the only position that have win percentages. They're the only ones that get, he's 1-0. He's a winning percentage. That's the only one. So it's part of you are part of the loss. That's that you can't.
But, and I agree, and I think Justin Herbert would tell you the same. He'll shoulder this. He'll say, "Hey, it's on me. I got to do it. I got to be better." But if you go into a game and tell me my quarterback's going to give me 34 points on the board, I want my defense to be able to get that win for me.
He didn't give you 34 points. He had one touchdown. It's not like Tua had 3 touchdowns. 3.
Sounds like Will had buddy on the game. Merv, do you do anything strictly for entertainment purposes only, or you just look at my picks and say, "Why are you only betting $10?"
Well, I definitely lean on your picks because you helped me out during college when I was listening to the podcast, putting my bets in for there. So I'm leaning on yours this week.
All right. Sean, do you do anything strictly for entertainment purposes only?
Not this week.
And G, what about you, sir?
Seahawks killed my parlay.
Okay. All right. So we got to know what you guys do. All right. So next week, week 2 games of note. Thursday, Minnesota versus Philadelphia. Minnesota, don't lose that game. Don't go 0-2. We'll get the Packer fever going.
They're going
Sunday's
to win.
game.
You think they're going to win that game? Last year, Philly embarrassed them.
And they're in Philly again in prime time. Kirk Cousins cannot play in prime time. So
you already know that they're going to go 0-2.
Yep, let's go.
All right, Sunday, games of note for me. Green Bay versus Atlanta, because I actually like Jordan Love. I think he's going to do a good job. Baltimore versus Cincinnati. Seattle versus Detroit. That's going to be a sneaky good game, Seattle versus Detroit. Shout out to Art Claiborne, who's a legitimate Detroit Lions fan. I actually know one. Kansas City versus Jacksonville. Kansas City actually has a chance to go 0-2. Jets versus Dallas, and Washington against Denver. Can the Commanders go 2-0? So, panel, when I come to you, tell me what you're looking forward to watching next week. I'm going to start with Sean. Sean, what are you looking forward to seeing next week?
I want to see if the Chiefs going to go 0-2. These Jags is hot. These Jags are hot, man. Don't sleep on Trey Lawrence and his boys. So that's what I'm most intrigued about, to see if the Chiefs going to go 0-2, because those young receivers did not look good. I don't know what happened to Tony. He wasn't catching nothing.
And they need some get back from last year, too.
G, what are you looking forward to week 2?
I want to see Ravens Bengals. Neither one of them look great this week, but the main game I think most people will be paying attention to is Jets Cowboys. 2 teams, Super Bowl aspirations. And they both play maybe the 2 toughest divisions. Let's see what they look like against teams outside their division. Early test.
All right, Codman, what are you looking forward to seeing?
I'm looking for Kansas City versus Jacksonville. That's going to be a good game. It's going to be youth and versus obviously the defending champion. But I'm kind of interested that New Orleans versus Carolina. No one's going to talk about it, but if New Orleans wins, they're now 2-0 and they continue going. So let's go. And I picked them to win the South. Let's go.
Something's hilarious.
Are you guys Saints fans?
Well,
No.
This is
can
the
you
fourth
tell
Saints
us?
mention I've heard on
It's a
here.
lot of Saint talk, man.
You
A
don't
lot of
watch the
Saint talk.
show, G. We got to get
I
you
don't
to watch
hate the
show.
Saints.
Marv, what are we looking forward to? And then we'll explain to G why the Saints are part of the show, because it's Merv's fault.
Yeah, it is. So
It is really.
I will say at the top of my list, like I said, Saints. That's going to be a real good game that it can build some good strong momentum, because their strength of schedule, I believe, is like 16, so it's really middle of the pack. So I like that one. I'm also looking at the Chargers Titans game.
Yeah.
I want to see how bad Herbert is going to do against back-to-back, or how good he's going to do against back-to-back strong front sevens. And then also, I'm still pulling for Malik Willis at some point in the day, but I just need him to get a chance to get out there.
What is up? What are they doing with him?
Well, they realized that they put him out there too fast, and then they had basically a whole carousel of quarterbacks who could all do the same thing. They could all run, they could all throw on the run, but they weren't great pocket passers.
All right.
I think they end up trading Tannehill too. So
I'm cheering for the brother, but he's gonna end up quarterbacks coach at Liberty in a couple of years.
Coach, right?
On that note, let's do our merch to close the show. Buy a shirt or two. CKA Save Project is selling OCP shirts similar to this one, as well as CKA shirts. A portion of the proceeds go to buying Finding the Balance books for high school student athletes at underserved high schools. So please order your shirt. And in about 6 or 7 weeks, you'll see our panelists hopefully sporting their gear as well. To close, this airs Tuesday, September 12th. Monday will be the commemoration of 9/11. We will always remember that. I was teaching at a local high school, and I was getting my master's in teaching, and I had a kid videotaping a lesson, and I remember saying to the kid, "Don't stop taping no matter what, because I'm trying to get my master's degree." And the kid said, "Okay, coach." So I'm taping. Everybody's, doing the lesson right because they're well coached. Hey, okay, I'm trying to look good. And somebody comes into the room and says, "Hey, coach, can I see you for a second?" Which is not uncommon if you're in education. And they whispered, something happened at Tire One. And I sold it, because something's always going on in New York. And then what seemed like minutes later, but of course we do have the time gap, somebody else stood at the door, and I blew them off and said, "I already know," and they did not move. And I walked over, and they said something happened to the second tower, and you can see on the camera that I didn't sell it, but kids didn't know something was going on. And then again, it felt like seconds later, but you have the timeline. Somebody ran to my door and they yelled, "They got the Pentagon," and kept running. I left my class, tape guys still rolling, because at that moment I became Keith, and my dad was Secret Service for over 20 years. And while everybody else's family was leaving, my dad's going to save. And I still to this day don't know how I got through on the phone, because all the phone lines are jammed. And my dad, if you've ever met him, one of the gruffest people you'll ever meet, he said, "Take care of your mama," and click. Yes. And then I walk back into class. I'm solemn. I'm a social studies teacher. We got friends and family who got the good government jobs, and they're working at the Pentagon, and they're working in New York City. And we have the conversation with the kids, because no matter what, at the end of the day, we're teachers. We've got to take care of our students. And we had that conversation. They came on the PA, announced everything. And then I'll always remember one kid just raised their hand and said, "Coach," because I was Coach Adams at that time, "you never lied to us." And I said, "Well, thank you. But why would you say that now?" She said, "Because you said if it was a choice between you and me, it's not a choice, and you left the room." And it was a moment of levity, because, yeah, it was kind of true. I did leave, but I came back, and fast forward to the end, I sent the tape as is to Grand Canyon University, and I got my master's degree, and a professor wrote me a nice note saying, that was the genuineness of teaching. And when I moved, I found the tape, and I'm probably not going to watch it. But again, we'll always remember, um, you know, thank you for everyone who served our country, who helped. And we do appreciate that. So, on behalf of my cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and/or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we'll see you on the sidelines next time. Take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.